Okay, looks like they're here. All right, great. Well, thank you everyone for joining our webinar today, wherever you may be. We're going to be talking about taking automated charting and reporting to the next level. I'm Benjamin Rietti from eTabs here in our London office. We've been around now for a good number of years, 27 years in fact, and our whole specialty is ensuring optimized final reporting for the market research industry. So that's everything from online reporting, data visualizations, to our subject for today, which is automated reporting, automated charting, and so on. We've won a number of awards over the years, which is very gratifying and acknowledges our leadership in this area. I'm, like I said, in our London head office, and we do have teams across the world in the US and in Asia Pac as well. And this way we can provide support to our clients around the clock, wherever and whenever they may need us. Okay, so well, hopefully we're on our way, or most part of the world, thankfully, are on our way out of the COVID crisis. But actually, what we're noticing now is some of these very, very painful in some cases side effects. Projects that have been cancelled due to COVID, due to reduced expenditure from clients and internal stakeholders. We've got a case of actually projects now restarting that had been put on hold, but now facing a crisis of reduced resources to be able to get those projects delivered and turned around. We still have many clients facing tighter margins, so the end users want the projects to continue, but they're demanding more for less, and therefore, what can we turn to in order to increase profit, or even gain some profit, or at least not make a loss? And I think automation is on everyone's minds at the moment as being a way to really help things going forward. So we've just mentioned some of the painful impacts that you may have been experiencing due to COVID and the global downturn in business. It may therefore come as an initial shock to suggest that now would actually be a time to innovate. Innovation tends to cost money, it's an investment, and also means introducing changes at a time when there is still so much uncertainty. However, to survive this turmoil, we need to be like the chameleon on my slide, that is constantly adapting to survive in an ever-changing environment. Innovative reporting has long been perceived as taking heavy technical wizardry, and it's no surprise then that many companies don't even consider dipping their feet into the water, and especially at a time like this, when companies are all struggling, may not think about proactively putting time and effort into investing in innovation. However, innovating can mean huge cost savings and could well make the difference between keeping or losing a client or a project, or the difference between becoming stale in a client's eyes or making tangible changes that will be mutually beneficial and promote you as being seen as their partner rather than just another supplier. So what we're advocating is harnessing technology to automate your reporting. And it doesn't matter whether your reporting is in PowerPoint, whether it's in Google Slides, we're seeing more of that now, PDF files, and so on. What we're saying is you might be able to get more from your project, more from your clients through offering more frequent reporting, offering a better format of reporting than you may otherwise have been doing until now. And these are some of the things we're going to look at today. So it's important to realize that there's so much more that can be done with the right tool than just, say, using an Excel macro to run off a bunch of charts and linking them into PowerPoint, or an online analysis tool that offers rendering of those analyses into simple PowerPoint charts. What we're talking about today is automating client-ready reports with every level of detail fully automated. The ETAS range of solutions, for example, can handle variance in trackers or multi-market studies, different brands, different numbers of brands, showing or calculating significance and stat testing, dealing with low base conditions, or even writing condition-based analysis text into the actual charts and onto the slides. We natively understand the actual language of market research, both from a data perspective and how research and insights professionals need to report that data. So to us, auto charting is so much more than just auto charting. And that's why we call this automated reporting, because the reporting really has that level of detail that you need to finally deliver. So let's understand, what is fully automated reporting? From our point of view, that's being able to handle multiple data sources, bringing data in from your standard banner tables, from Excel, from SPSS SAB files, potentially from live databases, and so on. And it's about being able to work from your template, on your terms, with your formatting, your level of detail, your types of charts, customized charts, perhaps in the PowerPoint or in the Google Slides. It's all about starting from what you actually need to end up with, rather than forcing you down a narrow choice of, oh, it's got to be charted this way, or it's got to be shown that way, or you can only have a couple of charts on a slide, or even one chart on a slide. We're talking about have as much as you want on the slide, whatever detail, and being able to essentially pull that data from the various sources all at the same time into each of those objects, onto each of those slides. When our software, ETABS Enterprise, has done that, you're left with a fully editable deck at the end, whether that deck is PowerPoint, whether that deck is Google Slides. And we offer this both as a software that can be taken and licensed and installed, use yourselves, or we offer this as a service to do the reporting for you, if that's your preference. Let's have a look and see this in action. So what I've got here is a multi-market project. Just paging through the slides here. There's only 4 or 5 slides. So you can see what the structure looks like. Now I'm going to run the enterprise software, and it's now going to populate each of these slides for each of 3 countries, France, Italy, Germany. So now you can see it's already started to populate the French report. You see different brand logos coming in for different car manufacturers. This is all fictitious data, by the way. It's putting the flag on the slide. It's putting significance indicators on the values there. You see the NPS scores appearing. And that's now the France report finished. Now it goes to the next country in line. It's going to run Germany. You'll see that popping up in a moment. There we go. And you can see different competitors in the German market as well. So the appropriate brand logos appearing. This is all coming from one single template. But as you can see, it's handling the variance across the different markets and the different brands in those markets. Every level of detail, including the base values at the bottom of the slides, that's all being updated automatically. And what I'm showing you here is a multi-market project. And it's exactly the same process for a tracker. So you'll have one output, but it's updating every month, every quarter, and so on. So it's now just doing the Italian report. Again, different logos. And the flag appearing. Okay, that's just finishing now. Let me show you what we've just gone and created. So there's 3 different PowerPoint decks. Let's open those all up. There's the Germany one, France, and let's put Italy there as well. And now side by side, so you can compare the subtle differences between them in the outputs. You can see one slide, personality, being repeated for each of those top 3 brands, competitive brands. Conditional formatting, coloring those cells in that table, green, based on higher segment, lower segment, and so on. Okay, so that's an example of full-on automation. So if you're still hand posting numbers into PowerPoint decks or, like I say, Google Slides, then now's certainly the best time to invest in automated charting and reporting. No matter what quantitative project you're doing, your low-hanging fruits will definitely be trackers or multi-market projects where there's a fairly consistent template which can be auto-populated. Our belief, however, is that we should always be on the lookout for automating wherever possible. Automation doesn't have to mean all or nothing. So even if you have a tracker with variants where some questions change over time, or a multi-market project where the brands themselves or the numbers of brands, like I mentioned, may change between markets, it's always worth automating as much as possible. We love the challenge of dealing with change, and so please challenge us with your most complex project. Attune yourself to be on the lookout for opportunities. Maybe adjust your concept, add or copy test template so it can be more cookie cutter. Consider adding value to a syndicator study where for very little extra effort, each subscriber can get a deck that's tailored to their branding or pays attention to their brand over the other brands covered. It'll have their logo on, it'll have their color scheme and so on, but customized on a project by project basis and output basis. And like I mentioned earlier, it's those small things that can make all the difference to a relationship. So invest more today and hopefully you'll secure that client or project tomorrow. Also, customer or employee satisfaction studies where it's the same report but being generated across hundreds of branches or lots of departments or even on an individual person basis. It's all standardized, it's all repetitive and therefore ideal for automation. So I'm often asked, is there any mileage to be gained with auto charting a purely ad hoc, custom project? So of course, the whole principle of automation is to take a process that's repeated and find a way to automate those repetitive tasks. By its very definition, a project that's ad hoc isn't something that's necessarily templated. However, being that I believe so strongly in applying automation wherever possible, I like to take a step back and analyze any deliverable. For instance, are there patterns in the slides, the same set of slides repeated across categories perhaps? Or would it help the researcher if they could start their reporting with a pre-processed, automatically generated chart deck, tens, hundreds of slides of charts, and then they can just cherry pick the ones they want for their story and adjust them to their heart's content. Regardless of project types, there are two other strategic benefits to invest in automated charting. The first being accuracy. So even if we're not talking about completely hands-free reporting, the fact that you can be confident with data being pulled into your charts directly from your data tables is huge. And finally, an incredible yet often overlooked benefit of automation is that projects can be set up on interim or dummy data. And then when the final data is released, you can update an entire deck of slides literally within minutes. And that's great when you know you'll be up against the clock to deliver accurate reports to a client under pressure. I also sometimes call this the insurance policy, protecting you against those awkward moments when you've spent an entire night keying in numbers by hand for a client presentation the next morning, only to discover an email from DP at 8 a.m. saying, oh, I used the wrong weighting, please use this file instead. Of course, this has never happened before, but it's good to be prepared for those eventualities. At eTabs, it's not just about populating data into charts. It's not just about populating PowerPoint. So we can now do Google Slides. We can populate Google Sheets, for example. But we can also populate infographics. That means data-driven infographics, pulling numbers automatically into maps, into repeated icons in infographics, filling infographics with color, a fill based on a percentage, sizing them. So here you have the male and female sized to proportion, automatically populating word clouds and nicer looking sort of pictographs. So all of that is possible within PowerPoint as part of the automation process. So you can begin to make your perhaps very chart-heavy decks into lighter, more easily digestible infographical reports too. So the bottom line, how can investing in innovation translate into profit? So firstly, leverage technology to reduce the cost of reporting. Once the headache and onus of reporting is transferred from your fingers, you'll have both the time and the headspace, more importantly, to utilize your analytical skills to dig for additional and more deeper insights. You'll be able to seize new, tangible, revenue-generating opportunities. For example, if field work is monthly, but reporting was only just about manageable quarterly, then consider automated charting and offer monthly reporting for very little extra effort. And if, quite literally, because the setup has been done. So whether I press the button once a quarter or press the button once a month, it's nothing. And if that offer doesn't go down well with your client, then quite frankly, I'd be shocked. Fourth point, manual reporting not only costs you valuable time, but is prone to error. By reporting directly from the data source itself, reduces the chance for typos and inaccuracies. And you and your client will have more confidence in the data that's being reported. Smaller companies in particular can begin to consider pitching on larger, more complex projects than they would otherwise never have even attempted pitching on due to lack of resources. But now you can say, yes, I can. I've got the team, albeit virtual, to do this reporting on the large projects. And lastly, with the cost of reporting reduced and new channels for revenue generation, your profit margins can be increased too. In summary then, innovating has many strategic benefits. It gives you the chance to add value to what you're doing now. You can do it better and you can do more of it. It gives you ways to generate more revenue and maintain or grow profits. It strengthens client relationships. You'll be partnering with your clients and moving ahead rather than just doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. Finally, even your staff will appreciate it. Instead of exercising their fingers, they can exercise their minds, and that's way less stressful too. Their increased job satisfaction will translate into a happier team and a happier company, and you'll end up with happier clients. So how can we help you? So we have automated charting solutions that will literally bring a smile to your face as you watch entire decks being populated time after time, as I showed in the example a few moments ago. We have data viz and infographics tools that can transform traditional charts into more powerful, more visually attractive stories. We offer a full online dashboard creation service too, taking care of the setup, the hosting, the security, admin, and the updates. And as I mentioned, you can take a license, use our software and do it yourselves, or have an entire team who can do the automation for you and they just deliver the updated reports each time. So thank you for your time today. I hope you found this presentation helpful and thought-provoking. We have some minutes for questions. Please feel free to reach out for any advice. And like I said, challenge us. We enjoy that. And yep, any questions? Okay, I could see, yes, questions are coming through now. How do you deal with stat testing? Good question. So we can deal with stat testing in a number of ways. Either you may have stat testing already in your data tables. That means you've got your column letters in there. We can pull those out from the tables like we do with the numbers and put that straight into the charts in the PowerPoint, or render them as indicators like arrows, circles, squares, asterisks, traffic lights, whatever type of indicator you want. If you haven't got the stat testing in your tables, then you can actually do the stat testing as part of the automation process itself. So we have the formula built in, or you can use your own formula and then apply the stat testing on the values and show it, like I said before, as indicators, as column letters, or whatever you want. great question. What if the decks change between waves? So yes, like I said earlier, what we can do is we can build the automation to accommodate change. So we can say, what will be the maximum number of brands, let's say, we need to build this for. We'll build it, let's say, for 8 brands, 10 brands. So even if sometimes you're only looking at 6 brands, we can still accommodate those 6 within the space of the slide or the chart that was set up. If the brands themselves change, it's always, let's say, 10 brands, but it's always the top 10 brands. So the brand names are changing. Again, we can handle that difference over time. The more that we can anticipate at the start, the better, obviously. But it's a very flexible system. It's not like creating a macro that is so hardwired that any change just knocks it out. So yeah, we can handle that change. What if the decks change from wave to wave? Good question. So that means like you're adding questions, taking questions away, or changing the charts that you want to use next wave round. That's absolutely fine. Like I said, we start from a PowerPoint deck as our template. So you design everything in PowerPoint itself. And that way, if you want to change the chart type, you literally just go back into the template, change it from a bar chart to a column chart or whatever it may want to be, or change the branding and the coloring. You just do all that back to the template, and when next time you run it, it's got all those changes already there. Another question. Can I pull in data from more than one source file? Yes, you can. So there's no hard limit as to the number of data sources, or you can have varying data sources. You can have data coming in from an SPSS SAB file, let's say, and a separate Excel file with some norm scores or benchmark values, and then do comparisons in the PowerPoint and so on. And those could all be pulled in simultaneously. You can have a single chart where the numbers coming in that chart are coming from completely different places, different worksheets, different workbooks altogether. Next question, is there any flexibility in the automation? Yes, very flexible. And like I said, we can deal with the variance, let's say it's a tracker variance between wave to wave, or if it's a multi-market, you may have different lists of brands and products for each market. So we can take that variance into account. It's a very flexible approach for automation. Like I say, way more flexible than hard coding everything, and then change hits you. Another question, could you comment on the effort required to set up? Yeah, very good point. For automation, you have to set up the blueprint, shall we say, to then be able to replicate it further down the line. So I don't know, let's say you might take a day to set up a project. That's just once. And then when we run that project next month, next quarter, it may be done in minutes. So you're going to invest more time first round and see the huge savings going forward. If it's a one-time project that you need to run off 20 odd countries, I'd say, let's say the setup would be similar to doing one country's worth, but then your next 19 countries, again, will be generated within a few minutes each. Same thing with a tracker. You'll spend a day or two getting a set up first wave, which may be similar to what you did manually one wave, but then subsequent waves, you're talking about a fraction of the turnaround time. And of course, all the accuracy that comes with that. Another question, what are the typical time savings? So I'd say we get feedback where it's as much as 80%. Yeah, and that, again, that's not surprising when I said that the initial setup might be similar to what you would have done manually one wave, let's say one market, but then all the subsequent running is measured in a fraction of that. So yeah, 80% is not uncommon at all. We've had projects where literally running off 5,000-6,000 reports. That doesn't happen in a minute. It may be 30 seconds per report, and multiplying that by a few thousand, then obviously that adds up to quite a few hours. But it may run during the day, it may run overnight, and by the end of that, you've got your thousands of reports. And of course, you could run it on multiple machines at the same time. in order to save time if it was taking so long for each report to come out. Any more questions? Oh, yeah. You mentioned Google Slides. Are you just converting the PowerPoint to slides, or is this actually editable Google Charts? Brilliant question. Yeah, so this is a first for the industry. These are actual editable Google Charts, native Google Charts within the Google Slides, within the Google Workspace. So once they've been populated by us, by our software, you can still edit them. Your users can edit them all within the Google Slides environment. So that's hot off the press. That's new and groundbreaking. Okay, if there are any more questions, we'll wrap up. And thank you very much for all your time today. Please stay safe. And like I said, challenge us. We want to hear from you, and I'm sure we can help you and save you a lot of time and help you to get through this turnaround from COVID a lot stronger. Take care.